reading. I like to read, and with the busyness of life, you want to maximize life. You want to maximize what you do at work. How can you be a high achiever with family, with your kids? Because sometimes personally, it feels like I'm just staying afloat. Like I'm just, I'm hanging on to the life raft, hoping to get through the day. So I read these books on high achievers and the disciplines they have, the way they approach life, the questions they ask themselves, the way they get up in the morning, how they approach their day. And it sounds good reading it, but I'm always asking myself, do these high achievers have like young little kids? Because they're doing these things where it sounds like, hey, this sounds good to do and practice, but you got the wild card of a kid waking up in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
You just got. I feel like kids are. There's somewhat of a routine, but they're also kind of a wild card.
Sure. Yeah.
And so it was just maybe I should write a book on how to be a high achiever with little kids. The true story.
Or like when those workout videos, they do the workout videos and they say, you do this, but here's the modifier. If you have an injury, here's the modifier. If you have a kid, here's how you can modify this schedule. Well, I mean, like for instance, like today at lunch, we were supposed to have lunch with that guy. The reason he couldn't come was his kid was sick. Like
Sure.
Him and his wife, they both work.
Yep.
And I'm sure that they probably both had meetings or something, because otherwise I'm sure the wife would have gone and taken care of it. So something must have come up. And so he's the one who got tagged. So it's like the wild card, even though his best intentions were to have, come to the meeting with us, that he had to cancel. Kids with a wild card. Yeah, I think that the same on the high performer life. I think the same thing a lot of times. And I also think that if you pay attention to the high performer people, a lot of them lose their families in the process.
Right.
Donald Trump Jr., you saw the news today? Mm-hmm. Trump Jr.'s wife or filed for divorce or whatever that they're going. That was the headline.
Yep.
But Elon Musk, they hold him up in high regard, but him and his first wife are split. Giuliani, Newt Gingrich, a lot of the high performers lose their families in the process.
Yeah, I heard somebody say, everybody tries to achieve a balanced life, but truly, that's never really the case. Like, you want to live an unbalanced life, you just got to figure out where you want that unbalance to be. Is it my family? Is it my work? I mean, because at some point, each of them requires some level of time. So, I think that's a good point. To be you can be a high achiever and be a good father, but I don't think I don't think you can run as hard as you did when you were single, because your kids and your family require time. And personally, I like being home early to go take my kid to soccer practice. I like getting up early and not getting to work at 6 o'clock in the morning. I like getting up and get my son ready for school. I enjoy those things, and to me, those bring joy. That I don't think if I was such a higher achiever in my work and I wasn't really around for my family, I feel I would be disappointed in that result.
Yeah, I remember watching this episode of Shark Tank, and I think it was Kevin O'Leary, which makes sense. It would be
Mr. Wonderful.
Mr. Wonderful. But somehow it came up, like out in the guy's presentation that he was struggling with his fiance or whatever, with the business and the fiance and something. And Mr. Wonderful said, which I thought was terrible advice, but he basically said, what do you think is easier? Do you think it's easier to build what you've built, a $5 million business, or to find a new girlfriend, find a new fiance? And he's basically like, find a new fiance, drop that girl and stay married to your business. And I was like, oh my God. Now, after the show, Cuban or, Robert or whatever, they start getting on him. Like, I can't believe you told that guy to ditch his wife. Yeah. And, that was my first response too. Mr. Wonderful basically said, look, if they're having problems about this, and they're not even married yet, and they're already having problems, he's like, I just saved that guy years of headache. Like, if they're not in alignment on their life
dreams,
that was his rationale, his quick thinking rationale. But I was thinking, like, no, the way he's wired is, if if your wife's not on board, you drop her. You know,
Yeah.
leave it. Find
Yeah.
a new wife. You can find a new wife easier than you can build a $10 million business or whatever.
Yeah.
But so I think it comes down to the high achiever, high performer. It comes down more to like your definition of what is success, or high achieving what, like what are you driving towards?
Yeah.
Because if all you're doing is driving, I would say that if you make it to the top but lose your family in the process, that you failed.
Yeah.
That's a huge fail. And everyone is wired different, and I think the American way is get money at all costs type of thing. But that's not, I don't believe that's right. I think if you make it to the top and lose your family in the process, you've lost.
Yeah. Yeah, I think there's a shift though. I mean, I think there is, achieve at all costs, but I think there is a shift to saying, no, I mean, I don't want to just be grinding all my life and not be able to live. I don't want to be grinding all my life and not be there for my kids. Because you hear these people that, I heard a story about this nurse that worked in a retirement community, and she would interview people that were nearing death, and what would you have done differently? And a lot of it's like, I wish I'd been there more for my family. So I think it's great where you're on the mountaintop and you get all this, fame. The guys on the Shark Tank, I mean, they're known. But I think when they're towards the end of their story and they're like, man, I wish I'd been more there for my family, you can't get those years back.
I talked to a guy just recently. He's opening up a pizza shop near the house, and I asked him about his story, and he basically said they were running these mechanic shops up in Virginia, and he turned around and his daughters were 16. He's like, I don't know what happened to those 16 years. He's like, I was just pretty much working. I think he said I was working 25/8. And like not 24/7, 25/8. And
you're working more than the day allows for.
Yeah, he just basically, he's like, I just worked all the time. He's like, and I turned around, my girls were 16. They moved from Virginia to Louisiana, and he said, it's a slower pace of life down here. It's a higher quality of life down here as far as relationship wise goes. He said things move a little bit slower down here. He said your money goes further down here, and it sounded like they had enough money to do whatever they wanted to do, and they were doing this pizza place as a way to encourage time with the daughters. One of them wanted to go into culinary school or whatever. And
you think opening and running a restaurant will create more time? I mean, you and I worked in the restaurant industry. It just seems.
And that's just what they're doing. Okay, maybe he's just a business owner at heart. Maybe he just enjoys the entrepreneurial, like doing something. And I don't know what their spiritual position is. Like maybe he just doesn't like like how you can do those things with nonprofits and volunteering at the church. Like you can achieve some of those same things building things at church or nonprofits or philanthropy.
Yeah.
Maybe all he knows is building business type of stuff. And but he basically said it was something he wanted to do. It was something to enjoy. They went to San Francisco. They trained under some master pizza chef guy, Pizzioli, who won the world pizza championship, and they bought these fancy pizza ovens and whatever. But the point was that, kind of to what you were saying, that he basically worked his whole life away, and then he realized he had a little moment where he realized, if I continue on this, like I need to take corrective action. And credit to him for doing it. It's a big life shift. He sold 8 mechanic shops. He's doing something completely different.
Yeah. Pizza
world, and he moved from Virginia to Louisiana. Like that's a significant difference.
Yeah. There's I lost my train of thought. What was I going to say? Yeah, I don't know. It was a good point. I know that.
I'm sure it was.
It was life changing. Oh no, I was gonna say it's very cliche, but it's so true that it does go by fast. I mean, before we had our kids, it's like, oh man, it's gonna go by fast. Enjoy every day. I'm like, yeah, I know, I get it. I mean, once you're in it, it does. I mean, you blink and today's Friday. You just blink and it goes by.
Okay, have you heard of the CEO challenge?
No.
Okay, so it fits in this same high performer life. So these guys, they put together this list of stuff that they picked up here and there from different CEOs that are like best practice, like daily routines. Like, so they found these interviews with CEOs like Bill Gates or Ariana Huffington, Barack Obama, CEO of the country, chief executive of the country. Let me think of who else. Richard Branson, all these people like that. And they pulled out these little excerpts of about their daily routines. And then they committed for 7 days that they were going to do the CEO challenge. They were going to do the morning and night routines, that whatever the CEO did, that they were going to do.
Okay, so can I go and get this list of things?
Yeah,
okay.
That's that picture that you were making. You were like, what is that picture?
Okay, gotcha.
That's
okay.
That's that list.
Okay.
And but yes, okay. So here are some of them. They said they wake up every day, and again, they're not saying all of the CEOs did this. They said these are just some of the common things that they saw studying these CEO patterns. It's not scientific. They're just putting together something to get clicks on their website or whatever, But they would wake up at either 4 o'clock in the morning or 4:30 every morning. They wake up 4:30 every single morning. No snooze button, right? So you're not allowed to snooze, not allowed to hit the snooze button. And they had some scientific research that showed that you're actually more tired if you hit that snooze button. That the extra 15 minutes of snooze, based on your sleep rhythms and whatever, actually are worse for you than just waking up straight cold turkey.
That makes sense.
But it was a common pattern that they'd wake up 4 or 4:30 in the morning. Then they typically ate a breakfast, which interestingly enough, Barack Obama said, talking about family, he said of all the things that pull in them in different directions, that they really weren't able to do family meal times together. So family breakfast time was the only time that they really had together as a family. And so they prioritized a family breakfast. So I thought that was pretty good.
Yeah.
I mean, and again, credit to him for how busy is, the president.
Yeah.
Credit to him for dedicating time there. So spending time with family every day was another one of the best practices.
Oh.
Eating a healthy breakfast was something too that they did. Although I do intermittent fasting, which that's probably a topic for another day. But they ate breakfast every day. They would work out for 1 hour, typically every day, typically in the morning.
And this is weekends too.
I guess. I mean,
Okay.
it's not that scientific. I don't know. But they would wake up 4:30 in the morning. They would start getting stuff done for the day, and they said the science shows that you have more willpower and are more effective in the mornings than you are as the day goes on. Another thing that was an interesting statistic was they said morning people tend to have more persistence than night people. So then they just, again, I don't know what studies they were pulling from.
Sure.
It could just be nonsense. But and then they were heavy on the nighttime routines so lights out is 9 o'clock. So they're sleeping from 9 p.m. till 4 or 4:30. Okay. So it's lights out at 9 o'clock. But the night routine starts at 7. Okay. So at 7 o'clock, they begin dimming the lights in the house, and there's no overhead lights. Okay. Because what they're trying to do is tell their bodies it's getting time to go to sleep.
Interesting.
And they would, in the evenings, they would do chores to wind down, like taking out the trash, cleaning the dishes, like the wind down activities of night.
Doesn't wind me down. Stresses me out.
And then they would take a bath, not a shower.
Okay.
Like a bath with the bath salts and the lavender and the candle and everything. And they would take a bath, and again, it's part of that. And it was the same thing every night. And then after bath, it was read a book, but it was nothing that was. It was a light book, like it could be philosophy or poetry or like it was not a book that was like super mentally stimulating.
Well, so okay, continue. What I'll add a thought.
You can ask. Go ahead.
Well, to me, if I read a book that's like really good, like let's see, it's a fictional book, and it's got you hooked. Those are the ones that are hard to close. I gotta think it might be more of a,
yeah, I don't know.
To me, like a self-help book, or sometimes a Christian book or whatever. I'm reading a book by Jordan Peterson right now, and I mean, if I lay down and go to bed and start reading it, I'll read a couple of pages, but eventually I'll feel my eyes starting to get heavy.
Yeah.
So I wonder if that's what they're doing is.
I don't know. Yeah. So, but it was something that was not super mentally stimulating. The book was not supposed to be super mentally stimulating. Another thing was no electronics in the bedroom.
Okay.
So they charge their phone in a separate room, either the bathroom or the kitchen. And they said that helps both at the nighttime routine and the morning routine, because in the morning routine, you can get stuck in they call it a black hole of YouTube or a black hole of Google News, of like you're scrolling through your phone, and then like before you realize it, 40 minutes is gone. So by having the phone in another room, it helped them to get up, get out of bed, and like get it rolling.
Okay.
So no electronics in the bedroom, and again the lights are dim, and so that electronics is like stimulating your brain with light to looking at that screen in the evening times. Then they did, and I don't know if this was morning or night, but they listed 3 things that they're thankful for. I think that's a morning routine. It was to start your day with like a boost of positivity, either affirmation statements or things that they were thankful for. And either as an evening or a morning routine, they would write 3 things that they want to accomplish today. Like,
that's to be a morning routine, right?
some of them were doing it as night as a way to like empty their brain to where they're not thinking about it during the night.
That sounds like a Tony Robbins. I think it's almost, maybe taking it from that, where he spends the first 10 minutes of his morning, first 3 is gratitude, the next 3 is spiritual, like just experiencing the presence of God, and the last 3 or 4 minutes is what are the 3 things you want to get done today. I bet they got it from there.
Maybe. I don't know. They didn't mention that.
Yeah, that's
So.
clickbait.
But that was basically the routine, was wake up at 4 or 4:30, no phone in the bedroom, and the same night routine every night was the big.
I'm trying to do some of those.
Yeah, I think it's good. But what made me think of it was you saying like, okay, yeah, well, what's the modifier for if you have kids? Like, how do you make those routines work and have kids? Which I thought was interesting that Barack Obama, his modifier was instead of a family dinner meal, he still wanted to prioritize family, so he just did family morning time.
Yeah. Well,
and all of the people who took that little challenge, there was like 4 or 5 of them that took the challenge, they all said by day 7 that they were going to maintain some, if not all, of those routines as part of their ongoing life.
Maybe we could try to do it and then report back next week.
I don't know.
Drinking our coffee bed at 4 a.m. wake up.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm ready to. I would say I'd be
open to trying one, like working out. I'll try the bath salts.
Yeah, I'd be open to thinking about it more, about what would we do, and then locking it down. I'd be willing to try something in that. But I think part of the modifier is you got to get your wife on board, because if you're saying lights out 9 o'clock, like they have to be on board with the routine to a certain degree.
I'm looking at this. I can do most of those. That 9 p.m. shutdown, I think, is very realistic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Another one that that said that I see on the list is making their bed first thing in the morning, as like checking a box. Like there's a sense of accomplishment right out of the gate.
That's good.
And they plan their day. They spent time in the mornings to lay out the day.
I think at some point we should say, let's try it.
Let's try something. Let's figure out what we want to do and what the modifier would be for kids, and then let's try it.
Well, speaking of modifiers, so I was fortunate to attend the governor's prayer breakfast. Really proud of you, seeing you up there and doing your thing, sitting next to the governor. Got to sit by your family and your friends, and your brother was there. They were so proud of you. But anyway, I almost didn't make it. Something about this, getting up early. So wake up, and I'm getting up early enough to get there on time to actually have breakfast before this event starts. And all of a sudden I hear my son just like gagging, like that. And I go in there and grab him, like, what's wrong? He's like, my throat. I grab him, take him to the bathroom, and just puking all over me. That happened multiple times, so I almost didn't make it. So this CEO challenge, that event may have disrupted the whole thing. But if I get up at 4 a.m, there'd be a lot I could accomplish before Luke wakes up. There's a lot I could do.
That is what these people said. Also, was 9 o'clock. They felt like a whole day had been accomplished already, and they still had a whole day in front of them.
Yeah.
Several of them said they got through all their emails. They were at work on time. They'd already felt like a huge sense of accomplishment. Yeah. And a guy, I talked to a neighbor recently. He wakes up at 4 every morning, and he, former Marine, and he said, I don't know why. He said, I have always woke up early ever since then. He's like, I don't know. I said, well, why do you do it? And he said, well, it just kind of gives me a couple hours to myself and get things done before everybody else starts waking up.
What time do you wake up?
Normally, 6 or 6:30. And I'm probably looking at my phone until 7. And sometimes it's work, but if I'm being honest, it's probably 75% not work,
yep.
25% work. Like if I get a message from somebody, during the night that's work related, I may address it first thing in the morning. I have some folks, staff as well as clients that are international, so sometimes I get requests for proposals and things that happen at like 3 a.m. that I don't get them, but when I first wake up, as soon as I grab my phone, which again, if my phone was in another room, then I wouldn't even start like
I think that's key to this thing you mapped out. I think that not messing with your phone or getting on the computer is part of that efficiency. Because I do the same thing. I can get up early, but I'll just start messing around and reading nonsense, and all of a sudden it's like 6:30 and kids are awake and I've done nothing. Well,
so we're gonna come up with some thoughts on the CEO challenge. Like
I really think we could do it. I think if we commit to do it, I think it'd be fun to report back.
I want to float it. I think we also should float it to our wives and see if we can get them on board.
When you're a CEO, you don't have to run anything by your wife.
Yeah, right.
That's how we roll, ladies.
I'm not part of that.
We're gonna do this.
I'm not part of that.